In this video, we'll see how the training load monitoring module works, dedicated to calculating the internal load for each player. We'll start from the team dashboard, which is the first item under training load dashboard. In the dashboard, we can observe several graphs. The first one shows the team's training load, meaning the average load of all players. The view can be daily for 28 days, daily for 7 days, or cumulative by week. In the weekly view, each bar represents a progressive week from the start of the season. On the left side of the graph, you'll find the training load scale, which shows the weekly load units. On the right side, you'll see the RPE scale, which represents the team's relative average. Each bar therefore displays both the training load left scale and the RPE right scale. You can view the graphs in 3 different modes. All players, meaning the average calculated from all players who entered a value. Excluding differentiated players, meaning those who did not complete the full training session. Only full week players, meaning those who attended all training sessions and played the match. Clicking on the 3 options switches between these groups. The whole team, the team excluding differentiated players, or only those who completed the full week and match. The visualization can also be filtered by period, selecting specific work cycle weeks. You can also switch between 7-day and 28-day views. When the type of visualization is changed, the other graphs automatically update as well. We've seen the first graph related to the training load. The second graph shows the Hooper Index, the wellness scale. At the bottom of this graph, you can see the same days displayed in the previous chart. For each day, the left scale shows values from 0.5 to 5 for 5 parameters. Fatigue, sleep quality, general muscle soreness, stress level, mood. On the right scale, you can see the total of these 5 parameters. By clicking on a single parameter, you can hide or show it, displaying only those you want. The graph also displays alert icons. Values below 2 are shown in red alert. Values from 2 to 2.5 represent a warning. 2.5 to 4 are good. Above 4 are very good. This graph, in the team dashboard, shows the team's daily average mood. Red alerts indicate days with low values, such as March 1st, 2018. You can choose how many parameters to display, one or several at once, up to the overall total. In the chart, the ball icon marks a match. Next, we have the acute-chronic ratio graph. This value represents the ratio between short-term load acute and the long-term average load chronic. In other words, it measures how much the recent load affects the player's average load from previous weeks. By default, the acute load is calculated over the last 7 days and the chronic load over the last 28. You can modify the acute period from 1 to 28 days. For example, if you choose 4 days, you'll see how the load from the last 4 days compares to the 28-day average. In the chart, the left scale shows the training load value, and the right one shows the acute-chronic ratio. You can display only the ratio line or also show the acute and chronic load values. There are reference lines in black, below 0.8. Not a real alert, but indicates a load that's too low. Between 0.8 and 1.3, optimal. 1.3 to 1.4 requires attention. Above 1.4, recent load is too high compared to the chronic average. The last graph shows the team cumulative load over 3-week intervals. Each bar represents the sum of the team's average load over the last 3 weeks. For example, 7,745.87 units from July 3rd to 23. You can change the interval from 1 to 10 weeks. The scale automatically adjusts for readability. This completes the team dashboard. Now let's move to the weekly breakdown. By clicking on a week, we enter the detailed view. We're now in the weekly dashboard. For example, here we see the week from June 18th to 24. Again, there are 3 display modes. All players, excluding differentiated players. Only those who attended all training sessions and the match. Buttons allow you to scroll to the previous or next week. The first chart is similar to the main dashboard. It shows the team's daily average training load from Monday to Sunday. The left scale shows load units, and the right one shows average RP. For example, Monday's average load is 430 and the average RPE is 5.51. Below, we again find the Hooper Index graph showing the player's wellness day by day. It displays the 5 parameters: stress, mood, muscle soreness, fatigue, sleep quality, and the total. The left scale ranges from 0 to 5 with alert thresholds. Below, 2 negative, 2 to 2.5 moderate, 2.5 to 4 fair, above 4 good. You can hide parameters to view only sum or just the total. The right scale shows the total value. For example, 15.30 on Saturday. The ball icon marks a match. Finally, we find the weekly table per player, showing training load values for each training session. For example, for the goalkeeper, you can see the loads for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. Transparent values indicate differentiated sessions, not included in the team average. For each player, there are 4 monitoring values: weekly total, difference compared to the previous week, acute-chronic ratio over the last 3 weeks, 7/21 days, cumulative total of the last 3 weeks. Values in red in the total column indicate a load exceeding the 90th percentile of the player's history. In the difference column, you'll find the weekly change in load. For example, Sergio Ramos has a weekly load of 2,496, 1490 units more than the previous week, shown in red because it exceeds the 600-unit alert threshold, orange above 400. For the acute, chronic, and cumulative columns, alerts appear above the 80th percentile, orange, and 90th, red. For example, Juan Francisco Torres shows an orange alert, meaning he's above the 80th percentile of his personal history. At the bottom of the table, for each day, you can see the team average and standard deviation. The gray column highlights the selected day, for example, Monday, and the chart below shows the blue line with the average value, for example, 418. Each player's value is plotted relative to the average. If it exceeds 1.5 times the standard deviation, an alert appears. For example, Sergio Busquets shows an alert that day because his load is much higher than the team average between 1.5 and 2 standard deviations. Changing the day mon. 2. Wed et c. updates the highlighted column and corresponding chart. You can also include the weekly total and 3-week cumulative columns. Now, let's move to the player dashboard. For example, Jordi Alba's. You can choose between 28-day, 7-day, or weekly views. Changing this setting updates all charts below. The first chart shows the training load. Each day displays the load value and the player's entered RPE. On the horizontal axis are the days. On the left, the load. On the right, the RPE. If there are 2 training sessions in one day, the columns appear in 2 shades. Hovering shows details. The daily total load is the sum of both sessions, while the RPE is a weighted average. Below, you find the acute-chronic ratio graph, indicating how the recent load compares to the long-term average. By default, the ratio is 7/28 days. The left scale shows the load, the right one the ratio. The gray column represents the acute load lasts 7 days. The red one the chronic load lasts 28. You can show only the ratio or all values together. Alerts follow the same rules. Below 0.8 low risk, 0.8 to 1.3 optimal, 1.3 to 1.4 attention. Above 1.4 excessive load. For example, a value of 1.45 indicates a load that's too high compared to the recent average. You can customize the periods for more specific analysis. Next comes the Hooper chart for the individual player. On the horizontal axis are the days, and on the vertical axis, values from 0.5 to 5 for the 5 parameters and their total. You can show or hide parameters: fatigue, sleep quality, muscle soreness, stress, mood. The ball icon marks the match day. Finally, the player summary table displays all season weeks up to 58. Rows are weeks, columns are days, with 4 monitoring columns. Weekly total sum of loads. Difference from the previous week. Acute-chronic ratio 7/28. 3-week cumulative total. Alerts follow the same rules. In the difference column, orange above plus 400, red above plus 600. In the total column, orange above the 80th percentile, red above the 90th. In the acute chronic column, orange between 1.3 to 1.4, red above 1.4. In the cumulative column, orange above the 80th percentile, red above the 90th. Red circles mark match days, and small labels indicate notes. You can hide daily columns for a more compact view showing only total, difference, acute chronic, and cumulative. Using the top bar, you can select a specific period, for example, weeks 15 to 22 for focused analysis. Now, let's move to the Training Load Data Acquisition section. From Training Load Data Acquisition, you can access the full history of all sessions. By clicking on a session, you can view each player's RPE value to be entered. The RPE is based on the Borg scale, with values between 0 and 11. From 0 to 10, you can use one decimal, for example, 5.4 or 6.7, while 10 and 11 must be whole numbers. The training duration is defined when creating the event and is the same for all players. However, if a player didn't complete the full session, you can manually reduce his duration, for example, by 10 minutes. For each player, you can also choose whether to include them in the team average by checking a box. This way, if a player like Andres Iniesta trained separately, you can still enter his RPE and duration, but exclude him from the team average. The system also validates the entered data. For example, if you try to input an invalid value like 10.3, not allowed because 10 cannot have decimals, a warning message appears reminding you that the RPE must be between 0 and 11, with at most one decimal, except for 10 and 11, which must be integers. While entering data, you can keep the RPE reference scale visible to help assign the correct level. You can show or hide the scale as you prefer. Now let's see the locker room mode. Designed to simplify RPE data collection, the coach or fitness coach can activate it via a dedicated link or QR code suitable for mobile devices. A page opens where each player finds his name. He just clicks it, enters his training load value, and saves. Once saved, a green circle appears next to the player's name, confirming the entry. The value is not visible to other players, ensuring privacy and avoiding comparisons. It's a fast and anonymous system, ideal for the coach or staff member collecting data directly from players' devices in the locker room. You can quickly scroll through names and enter values one by one, simple, immediate, and free from bias. After collecting the training load data, let's move to Hooper Data Acquisition. By clicking Training Load Hooper Data Acquisition, you'll see a summary table of all entries. For example, the number 23 in a column indicates that 23 players submitted their values for that session. Each player can enter their Hooper values from their own device, smartphone, or tablet, or the fitness coach can do it manually in the same table. Clicking each cell lets you enter the desired value. The system automatically shows a color code: red for critical values, yellow for moderate, green for good. This helps immediately identify any alerts related to wellness parameters. Here too, you can decide whether to include or exclude certain players from the team average by checking or unchecking their box. Once all values are entered, click Save to record the data. Back in the weekly team dashboard view, if you exclude some players, for example, differentiated ones, the team averages update instantly, since the system recalculates all parameters in real time based on the selected players. This makes it easy to compare team trends with or without certain athletes. Finally, let's see how to create a new training event. From Training Load Data Acquisition, you'll see a list of all recorded events. If you need to create a new one, for example, if it wasn't generated automatically from training sessions, just click Create New Event. Here, you define the main parameters: date and time of the session, expected duration, participants, any additional notes. Once saved, the event appears in the list, ready for RPE and Hooper entry. From that moment, the system will calculate both individual and team training loads, automatically updating all graphs and averages in real time across the dashboards. In summary, The Training Load Monitoring section allows you to calculate each player's internal load, monitor daily wellness through the Hooper test, clearly visualize weekly, cumulative, and individual trends, quickly manage data collection through the YouCoach app for players and staff, and the convenient locker room mode. Create new training events for continuous, complete workload tracking. With these tools, coaches and fitness coaches can analyze each player's load precisely, identify significant variations over time, and plan training sessions more consciously and scientifically.